Hey, Bomb Squad, Dan here. Have you been thinking about starting a podcast, but you don't know where to begin? Are you completely clueless? Are you completely lost? If so, you're in luck because I have the solution for you. It's Anchor by Spotify, the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. Anchor has the tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And best of all, Anchor is totally free. We use it, and you should too. So download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm and start your podcast today. That time I crowdworked a murder suspect. That's what's coming up on the Art of Bombing, episode 259.
My friend Dan, he's got a podcast, 'cause all comics need a podcast, and nobody had a podcast called The Art of Bombing. So Dan went out and bought a tape deck. Who knows why he bought a tape deck? Podcasts don't get played on tape decks, but Dan is from the 80s. So hey there, all you funny jerks, come talk to Dan about your work. Tell him all about your worst times. It's The Art of Bombing.
Welcome back to an all-new season of the Art of Bombing podcast. I'm your host, Dan Bublitz Jr., and with me, still in the new year, is my co-host, cohort, and co-producer, Josh Shirley. How are you? How was your holiday?
It was great. Was I not expected to make it back?
I don't know. I just felt like making it sound that way. You know,
was the Art of Bombing podcast going under like an employee review program? You know, I don't know.
I know I don't pay you.
We gotta look at.
I know I don't pay you, and you're probably putting in as much as you're making off of this, which is very little. But I'm gonna have to let you go.
Josh, you're just too expensive. That's the problem.
Yeah, you're just
budget cuts. But I don't make anything. Yeah. No, here's your paperwork. Just
sign here and then write me a check.
put your stuff in a box. We don't work in an office. Yeah, no, I know. But just go see payroll.
We don't have a payroll.
Well, this is
now you know why I'm letting you go.
That's right. I had some fears there, Dan, when you started that. It's like, he's still here, guys.
He's still here. He's still here. I haven't asked him yet.
Yeah, our Patreon subscribers actually get notified sooner.
Yeah,
if I'm gonna be like, so if you guys want to be in on when I'm gonna get fired from the show, actually subscribe. We should probably mention that.
We should. It is a new year. Let's talk about this real quick. It is a new year. This is a new season. Welcome to season 7 of the Art of Bombing podcast. With this being a new year, we are changing a few things with the podcast going forward. We're very excited to try some new things. Josh and I are always experimenting with things, and we're trying different things. And one thing that we're trying in the new year is we're going to take advantage of something that our podcast host provider provides, and that is the subscription option. So now we're going to slowly be discontinuing Patreon only because there's not a lot of interest in it, which is fine. We don't, most of all, more than we want your money, we want you to listen and share the episodes. That's the best way to support the podcast, is to share it and make sure you're subscribed. But what we've done is we have set up a subscription program through the podcast provider. So whatever podcast provider you're listening to this podcast right now, all you need to do is open up our page on that app. If you go to the Art of Bombing on whatever platform you're on, you can click the support button. And when you click the support button, it's going to send you over so that you can do a monthly subscription. Now, the monthly subscription is only $2.99 a month. And what that gets you is exclusive content, like all the Between Bombs episodes. They are now behind the paywall. You're going to be getting our back catalog. I'm slowly releasing all the episodes that you can't get, that are no longer available just because of space. I don't know how this works with these RSS feeds, but over time you can only have about a couple it's like a couple hundred episodes or something out at a time. I don't know. But either way, we're working on getting the back catalog listed. And then we're going to also have the other great thing about the subscription is that you get early release, ad-free, host-free. It's just the episode. It's just the fun stuff. None of us BSing. Although I should say it'll be ad-free. I will have to talk about that because we're adding another element to the podcast. So real quick, $2.99 a month, subscribe to the podcast, get you all kinds of fun stuff. The other fun thing that we're doing, we're changing the format a little bit with this show. What's going to happen is at the end of the show, after the conversation, Josh and I are going to actually do a little bit of an outro and talk about the conversation. We're going to talk about some of the takeaways and some of the things that that you should be taking away from that episode. And if you didn't get it the first time when you listened to it, then you can go back and listen for those takeaways. But we're going to be talking about that and getting more into the nuts and bolts of stand-up comedy through our conversation and, based on the episode. So I think we're going to be a great start, don't you?
We are getting shot out of the cannon, Dan.
Yes, we
This
are.
is a good time. Yeah. I think that's a great recap. It's so easy to sign up, and it's all out there, very available for you guys. It's easy to do. I'm looking forward to this new format.
That's right. I am too. And if you want to support us financially, but you don't want to commit to a monthly subscription, that's cool. You can go over to buymeacoffee.com/artofbombingpod and just leave a little one-time tip. You can do that as well if you'd like. But again, the best way to support the podcast, share the podcast with your friends. We want to grow the community. So share it, and make sure you stick around till after the episode. But before we should talk about this week's guest. We got a great guest, Ryan Bonnell, fantastic comedian here in Colorado. Had the chance to sit down and chat with him over the holiday break. Actually, even though we weren't releasing episodes, we were still working behind the scenes, getting things ready.
Yeah.
But it's a new year, so that's who's coming up. Before we get to that, though, it's a new year. We should talk about goals. Have you set any goals, Josh?
Yeah, this year I want to get into a comedy festival. And
Nice.
so that's the main objective. And to sort of back some goals out of that, I would say the next sort of big thing to do is to get a good taping. And so you and I talked offline about that. We've also talked about that a number of times on this show about how to get a good taping, what to do, what to buy, where to do it, all that stuff. So go check our back catalog out for things like that. And then in order to do that, I need to put some money in the old comedy treasury. So I'm hitting the road and getting on some shows and should be able to knock that out sometime this year.
That's great. That's great. One of the things that I'm trying to do this year, one of my goals is to do more corporate work. And to do that, I got a corporate booking manager that is helping me with that. It's a friend of mine who's reaching out to some nonprofits and trying to set up fundraisers and things like that. We've already got 2 gigs booked for 2023.
Fantastic.
So, yeah, so that's
paying off.
Yeah, it is paying off. Exactly. It's great because he takes a commission off what we get from the bookings, and I don't have to do any work. It's amazing. I just have to show up and tell the jokes. So, and then the other thing that I'm trying to work on this year is one thing I just accomplished today. I'm doing a rebrand. Yes, and that's something we'll probably do. The next Between Bombs will be about branding, but I'm doing a rebrand, which I do every several years. I don't know why. I probably shouldn't, but I decided it was time to do a little bit of a rebrand with my social media handles, and I'm trying to make it easier because I'm trying to figure out how to build that social media following, and that's one of my goals for 2023, build that following, build that fan base. So one thing I did, I'm trying to think, well, let's make it as easy as possible for them to find you. So I changed all my handles to DBub Comedy, which is short for Dan Bublitz Comedy. So now all my social media handles are just DBub Comedy, and that'll be way easier for somebody to remember after a show. When I say, hey, follow me on all socials at DBub Comedy, they're going to remember that versus if I say, follow me at D Bublitz Comedy, and that's spelled B-U-B,
yeah, L-I-T, everybody now.
Yep. As soon as I get to that Dan Bublitz, they're gonna tune out. So I shortened it up, make it short and sweet. So, and I did that today. Worked on that a little bit this afternoon when I got off work, and I'm pretty much done with that. Now the only other thing I have left to do is to order some new business cards, and I got about 500 here, I think, or 250 that I didn't use that are just going to go to recycling. I'm sorry, but I needed to do the rebrand. So those are what I got going on for goals.
Awesome. Yeah, that's good stuff. What about the short term? What shows are you doing?
Short term, I don't really have any. I got a few shows. I got Snow Jam. That's the biggest thing. If you're listening to this and you're in the Sioux Falls area, Snow Jam Comedy Festival is next week, January 9th through the 21st. 2023, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Go to snowjamcomedyfest.com. You can get all the information there. I'll be hosting some of the shows. I think I'm going to be featuring for Jackie Cation. I'm also going to be her guest on her podcast, which that'll be cool. So a lot of fun things going on over there. That's pretty much all I got, that I want to promote right now. I've got some other stuff in the works, but that's good.
Fantastic. That's great.
What about you? You got a show coming up this next week?
Yeah. To tie it off to the Snow Jam Comedy Festival, I'm having a Snow Jam comic, Stephen Taylor, on my show at Hazel's coming up this Saturday night.
Oh, nice.
The 14th of January. Yeah, so just a couple of days away, guys. Jump in there and check that out if you're in the KC Greater Metro area. I would
highly suggest, if you are, that you do, because Stephen Taylor's a great comedian. I know him.
Yeah, very funny guy.
Very funny.
I'm also having Aaron Scarborough on that show, who's known locally here. Very funny guy. Does a lot of clubs, things like that. February the 4th, if you happen to be in the Centralia, Kansas market, I will be there for some comedy. I'm going to be joining up with a couple of funny guys, and we're going to be going out there on tour. So that is going to be a fun evening, guys.
Oh, that'll be fantastic. All right. Well, those are our dates. I think we should get into this conversation with Ryan, and just remember, stick around after the conversation to get some more comedy knowledge, some more tips and tricks and some takeaways from the episode. So
we'll be back right after this.
Here's our conversation. Enjoy.
And now it's time for the stand-up soundbite.
So I learned something important recently. There is a place on this planet where I am sexually attractive. The problem is that place is West Virginia. For those of you who don't know much about West Virginia, ever seen the movie WALL-E? They based that off West Virginia, you're right. A lot of large people in hover-rounds going over a big pile of crap. So, a little more about myself. I recently lost 95 pounds. Thank you. I'm very proud of myself, too. But clearly, I'm no Boulder 10. I'm a nice, comfortable Colorado 5. But I didn't realize that there was a multiplier when going to West Virginia called being upright. And having a job that turns a Colorado 5 into a West Virginia 9. Walking in the bar, I'm just slinging dick. Problem is, I brought my wife with me. This got a little awkward because she instantly became a West Virginia 11. This became even more awkward because a bunch of the guys at the bar started throwing napkins at her. I had no idea what that meant either, till somebody leaned over and goes, "That's how West Virginia anoints their new queen." Which may seem nice, but I had to stay in West Virginia 2 more weeks. So I was walking around Denver earlier today, and I saw somebody wearing an O.J. Simpson jersey. You can't wear that, right? Not acceptable. Because if you can wear that, I can wear my Cosby sweater collection.
It's the art of bombing.
Do you have any shows this weekend?
So I had a show, not this weekend, just the one Wednesday at Verboten.
Oh, okay. So you were at Verboten,
Yeah.
where Jeff Albright, who I produce with,
Wonderful
his
human
show
being.
that he had, wonderful, definitely, great person, runs great shows.
Yes.
too.
Oh, the best shows. I love his freaking shows.
Yeah, that's great. He, as soon as when I moved to Loveland, somebody told me that he produced shows here, and I was like, well, I could go produce my own shows because I was gonna go look for places, and then somebody told me he was producing, so I was like, well, I'm just gonna go talk to him and see if we can just team up, because instead of competing, let's work together.
No,
You know.
way easier.
Yeah, exactly. And it's great to have backup when, if you can't make a show, you have somebody else that can come help rely, which is good because I was traveling for a while, so he really had to do all the heavy lifting while I was traveling so much. But now I'm not traveling as much, but since we started working together, we added 3 more shows. So we almost have a show almost once a week at a different venue
Pretty
in Loveland.
close. It's freaking
And then we
amazing.
have one that we're doing right now. We're doing it every other month. So, but yeah, it's we're picking up steam here in the old little Loveland.
You guys are killing it. These shows are great. There was somebody from Denver on my show, and they had never been to one. I was like, oh, you're going to enjoy this.
Yeah.
I was like, you're going to crush it and do great. They're always full. They're always fun. Very receptive audiences. And you'd be surprised with some of the stuff that we're going to say. I was like, I didn't think they're going to be okay with this here. I performed in Johnstown. It's not that much further, but
yeah, it's not that much further away. Yeah, that's funny. No, that's him though. I got to give him credit because I'm the new guy here to town. I don't really know anybody outside of comedy and a few people that I've met at some of the places that I frequent. Outside of that, I'm not. He's the connected one, and he was already running great shows before I came on. The only thing I added is more some production value because I have all the gear. That's what really is. That's why we were able to expand out because I have extra PAs and stuff too, so we don't have to, the venues didn't need to have the equipment.
That's such a huge selling point when you're doing that. You're just like, no, guys, don't you worry. I got my own stuff.
Yeah, exactly. You don't need to worry about providing this. We got it covered.
I'm not gonna break your stuff. It's gonna be okay.
Yeah. And I even have I had an extra PA that we just leave at one of the venues.
That's the best when you can do that.
Yeah, and it's great because then it's one less thing I have to store at my house.
I live on a 3rd floor apartment, and carrying my my speakers and everything up and down, it's just like no. So it lives in the car.
I believe that.
Denver, if you want to steal it, go for it. I'm leaving it in there. You know where it's at.
Yeah,
but
just find it. The reason I had the extra PA is because last year I upgraded just because I was tired of carrying all that equipment.
Yeah.
So I got a stackable PA system where it just has the main speaker on the bottom and then it stacks.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just one. I mean, you can get a second one if you wanted to add more power to it. But for a lot of what I'm doing, that one works fine.
Oh, yeah. In comedy rooms, you don't need the most powerful PA system in the world.
Exactly.
It should be small and tight. So,
and it's so nice because it takes less than 10 minutes to set up and tear down. And it's two things to carry in. so much more convenient. Takes up so much less space too.
Very jealous of that. No, I'm still rocking the dual speaker pack. The big 2 speakers, the 2 full stands. Then I got to carry the lights in. My spare chairs,
mixing boards.
Well, I'm thankful it's an all-in-one on that one. So it's pretty much it's on the back.
Well, that's
so
good.
that part helps. It's a little Bluetooth, but no, it's still the heaviest speakers, but it's not the most fun.
Oh no, even the smaller one, like the 12-inch ones, are still pretty beefy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, and I've carried. Now, mine are bad. I've carried worse, so it's just okay.
Yeah, it's amazing how easy it is to get tired of setting up shows, carrying PAs.
Oh yeah, you very much just when somebody offers, you're just like, please come help me. Please come.
Absolutely.
Please come help me.
Yeah, it's like one of them things where people when you'll be tearing down, they're like, "Can I help you?" And it's like, well, stay out of my way while I'm tearing down, but hang out 5 minutes. I can use your help to haul it to the car.
100%. I'm like, this is my process here, but just please.
Yeah, I was just talking to my buddy about that because we were talking about setting up shows and because we were talking about a show he was going to be on and the comic he was working with. Yeah. And I was like, he's not, I told them a story about how I worked with that comic and they didn't like help with anything, and it was fine. It was what it was. Because my friend he was like, yeah, but do you really want somebody coming and helping you pack up your PA? And I was like, no, absolutely not.
No.
I was like, I don't, because you're right. We all have our systems of packing stuff up, and that people just get in the way. However, it was the gesture is what I was talking about. You know, the offering. Because I would have said no, because we have you know where you want your things.
100%. No, my car needs to be set in a certain position. Everything fits in its own little spot. But just help me. But yeah, it's nice. But it is
you can be the muscle.
Exactly. But yeah, it's nice because there's a newer, younger comic who's coming around, and he's so cute and wants to like help me carry stuff, and I was like, oh,
that's awesome.
Carry that. Okay.
Please do. Save me from this heavy lifting. Which is always it's always a nice thing when you can get some help with that. But
for sure.
So we're not here to talk about the woes of producing shows and setting up, carrying PAs in and out.
I got another hour on that, guys. So
yeah, we're gonna change this to the art of PA. The art of production. Some crazy thing like that. But we're here to talk about bombing, because that's what this podcast is about. And I would love to hear your story of when you felt like you bombed or had a really bad show.
Okay. So I'm glad you completely clarified that, because I changed my mind, because I was holding up between my head and two. So I want to tell you about the time I got arrested at a show.
What?
Yes. Oh, this is such a great story. So I did a show in Gillette, Wyoming. So yeah, I got arrested in Gillette, Wyoming. I did it with PJ Johnson and Mandy Kay. We drove up there. Everything's good. We got hotels for the night. We're hanging out. Wonderful road trip up there. We get to the show, set everything up. The crowd's rowdy is the nicest way I can put this.
Can I ask what venue it was?
Tail Feathers Brewery. Oh my god.
Okay, so it's not the one I thought.
No. There's another one. This one is connected to a gas station. The bar is.
Oh, that's Legends.
Legends, yeah.
That's why I was asking, because
You've done Legends?
Yeah, my friend was booking it. I don't know if they're still doing it, but my friend Skylar booked that room.
So Skylar did get us booked for that room.
Yeah,
100%. So yes, you know exactly where and what I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly the bar you're talking about.
So maybe you can help, because you maybe can tell me the names of the people that got me arrested afterwards.
Well, that I don't know the people. I just said I know the venue.
Nope, I'm blaming you for this, Dan. I'm just telling you.
I know the venue and I know the hotel. Mostly, though, the hotel. Remember the hotel that they used, because right across the street is a liquor store / bar / it's insane, because you walk in, you're like, I thought this was a bar. And then they're like, oh, yeah, just go through this door.
Yep.
And then you go around the counter, essentially, through the back of the liquor store, through a door. And then there's just like another bar with pool tables. And the thing that stood out the most is you could smoke in this bar.
Yep.
People were just in there smoking cigarettes, smoking cigars. It was just, I was like.
Heater after heater, man.
I'm like, I went in, I was there with my friend Luke. He was the one that opened for me, and we went over there. And we were just like both blown away by that.
Yeah.
We were just like, what? They smoke it? I haven't been in a bar where they allowed smoking in years. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Oh, yeah, no. It definitely is a time and place there. But the show, honestly, so the show goes good. Like, I actually had a pretty good set, like a really good host set. The feature set goes great and everything. So, but afterwards, we're literally just hanging out. They're buying me drinks. They want my autograph. And I'm like, what is this? You guys are idiots. All right, I'll sign this shirt. You'll never hear from me again. And that's my game plan that night. It was my, I'm on the road and these people will never, ever see me again. So we go, and one of the other comics is sitting at a table, and this couple that was in the front row is sitting there drinking. Now, as we get to talking, we come to find out that this couple is swingers. Yeah. Didn't mean to make you choke there, but yeah, these are a pair of Wyoming swingers.
I don't even want to know what that is. That sounds scary.
So my joke that I tell about it is I describe them. They both look like Shrek. And they were going to go home and make me their donkey that night. So the woman is sitting there next to me, and she has got her leg just rocking into my leg, just hardcore action. I'm like, okay. And the male is over there into my female friend and just hardcore into her. And I am bisexual. I am polyamorous, but I wasn't into that. I was just like, I'm okay. I'm not doing this. So she asks me, she goes, because I talked about being bisexual on stage. She goes, well, I sleep with women and, I do things, but, you're bisexual. How does that work for you? And I go, the same exact way. And here's the problem. Here's what truly ended up getting me arrested was because I looked at her and I go, honestly, ma'am, I'm way more into your husband than you. And her husband gave the look of, yeah, I know. Yeah. So she is very much upset at me. And I don't think anything of this, because again, I'm whatever, how many shots of tequila deep. But we come from Colorado. I worked in the marijuana industry, so I brought weed with me. You know what I mean? I'm not thinking too much of it. We're telling them about, come by from my dispensary. Come here, please, please, please come see me afterwards. So finally the show goes, we get going, go to another one of the gas stations. We pull over, grab a little bit of food. We get out. I go to smoke a little bit of weed on these pair of sunglasses that happens to be a pipe. I hit it and I see the lights hit behind me.
Oh no.
Yeah. And I'm just like, oh shit. So they start searching the car and like try not to, but finally they see a joint tube. They say it says THC. They investigate the whole vehicle. I got arrested that night with half a joint on me.
That's all it took was a half a joint.
Half a joint, and I spent 48 hours in Wyoming jail.
Oh no.
Oh, it's which was fun to a point, because when I got in, I'm still drunk and high. So it's me and another comic, and we are crowd working all these other inmates at this point. We are literally putting on a comedy show as we're being arraigned. One of the sheriffs was like, "This is the most fun we've ever had at 1 a.m. in the morning." Because we're just, fuck it, we're already drunk, we're already high, like we're here, like let's at least have fun. Turns out one of the dudes I was crowd working at was getting charged for murdering somebody.
Oh, wow.
It's just like, I woke up the next day and went, oh no, because he thinks we're best friends. And I'm just like, no, this isn't what I need from you right now.
This sounds like a plot to a movie.
Oh, and it feels like it is. Oh, well, so let me tell you the conclusion to this movie.
You must, because we can't just
so
stop.
okay. So I get arrested. I got to go back, get a court date. I try, and I was just like, you know what? I don't even want to I tried to get attorneys. Attorneys were going to be way too expensive. I didn't want to get a public defender. Just like, those people are morons. So I was like, I'm just going to defend myself, and I'm just going to plead guilty. But I try to get a hold of the DA. I never hear anything back. I send emails. So I have to drive to Gillette, which is 5 hours from here.
Yeah.
So I do that trek 2 o'clock in the morning so I can get up there. I talk to the district attorney, and we come up with, a plea bargain of he's just going to go time served and a fine. I'm like, okay. Here's where it gets fun. I sit in the courtroom office and I look, and there's a computer, and then there's a little Zoom chat with my name on it. The asshole could have put me on a Zoom chat and had me done this and pay over the phone instead of driving all the way to and from Gillette, Wyoming.
Oh.
The district attorney even looks at me in the courtroom and goes, "You're from Denver?" And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "You drove all the way up here for this? That sucks." No shit, asshole. That's on you. I could have been home. So the judge, I was just like, "Hey man, I plead guilty. I did it. I was wrong." And he's like, "Okay." So he's like, "All right, it's going to be time served and a fine." Now he has to do 4 lines of math, and he comes up with $420. $420.
Are you serious?
Swear to God, he charged me $420. And I utterly just laughed in the courtroom and go, "Ha!" I was like, you know what? That's cool. Because it could have been $1,500 in a year. So I was like, you know what? $420 seems fair and reasonable. You guys have a great day. It's
almost like he did it on purpose just to like spite you.
Oh, 100% was. It was.
You think you're funny, comedian, man. I got jokes.
Exactly. I'm going to be the punchline to all your shit. You'll never forget me.
420, baby.
Oh God.
It's funny though, because that story, while it sounds like you got arrested, but it wasn't a horrible show. Like
No.
But even so, it wasn't a horrible night. Like you went, you got arrested and had to spend time in jail. You guys made the best of it and turned it into a comedy show.
Oh yeah. Oh well, because here's what got better is they let me and the other comics stay in the same cell together too. So it was for the 48 hours. We probably were cracking jokes. 40 of them are playing games.
Oh wow.
We're incorporating different sheriffs and things. We were playing this movie game where you have to like list off another movie based off letters, and we got one of them to go up on the computer to check if one of our answers was valid.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
And the person that was, everyone told me they're like, that's the jerk that sheriff. Nobody likes him. How did you guys get it? Sorry, we're it's what we do. We're likable.
That's amazing.
But yeah, no, I've had other bombing stories, but that's the one I was just like, God, like. Is that what it's like to be a road comic every goddamn time you guys
yeah, I guess if you get around, that's what it's like to be a road comic when you go to places that are really strict about weed.
Right, which I guess I didn't get, because I asked everybody, I was like, hey, you guys cool? And they were all smoking, and I was like, all right, cool, we're smoking. And like, I didn't bring a ton with me, thinking I was like, oh, it's enough to ditch. Like,
yeah. Unless you're in the middle of smoking it when the cops are kind of hard to ditch it. You can throw it, but when there's a cloud of smoke around you.
Yeah, you could definitely cloud your judgment at that point. Oh God, yeah. So yeah, that one sticks with me.
Oh sure, that sounds like that was an incredible story. Yeah, I never had that much fun in Gillette. The extent of my Gillette experience was going to the liquor store with the bar in the back that allowed smoking.
See, it's a weird town because I knew the comics that were going up the month after I was, and I was just like, so one of them, Ollie Kareem. Yeah. So Ollie Kareem goes up in there and started his set, and within 4 minutes, 5 people had to be escorted out of the building.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Rena Calm was the headliner that night and just destroyed them, is what I got told. She
that sounds.
She goes, I made 65 cents and I wish they would have kept it. like merch stuff. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That I've had fun every time I've done that room, but because I've done it twice now. But yeah, like I said, it was funny though, on my way to that show, or was it that show or was it another show? I think I was on my way to that show, and I got pulled over for speeding. And but I got pulled over in Douglas, Wyoming for speeding. And the funniest part about it is in Douglas, Wyoming, there is a law enforcement training facility. And when I got pulled over, I wasn't paying attention to my speed because I was staring at the law enforcement. I was like driving, but I kept like glancing over, checking out this training facility.
Yeah, you're like, oh,
I'm just like, oh, this is neat. I didn't know this. I'm just like, I wonder. I bet you. And I was thinking to myself, I bet you they set up a lot of traps and stuff around here, And then I see a cop pass me, and he like turns around. And I'm like, oh, damn it.
How fast were you going?
I think I was going like 45 and a 35.
Oh, geez.
So enough for them to pull me over. I mean, I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And what sucked was it was like right on the edge of like right as the speed limit was going to be changing.
Yeah, going back up.
Yeah, going back up. But I didn't get a ticket.
Okay.
He let me off on a warrant. It was funny because he pulled me over and then he asked where I was going. I was like, well, I'm on my way up to Gillette to do a show. Comedian. He's like, I don't think I've ever pulled over a comedian. And just in my brain, I just wanted to be like, that's because we don't like coming through Wyoming.
Yeah, needless to say, I'm not driving through that state anytime soon.
It's like, that's because we try not to come here.
No, I mean,
but yeah, he was really nice and just let me go on a warning. But
again, most of the people, everybody seemed nice. I remember a lot of it fondly. Like, oh, you guys were great. You guys were a fairly receptive audience. A little rowdy. Okay, there was one lady in the front row who wasn't enjoying anything, but that's her fault.
And that'll happen.
I don't understand going to a comedy show and wanting to be a stick stick in the mud. Why would you pay money to be a stick in the mud at a comedy?
Because sometimes I think people go because they get dragged by friends and or family.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, I feel like somebody like really pushes them into going, and so they already go with a sour attitude.
Yeah.
You know, they're like, oh, I didn't want to come. I'm getting forced to do this, and now I'm just going to be a stick in the mud. Like, I just don't want to be here.
It's about me.
Yeah. Yeah, that definitely happens. All about me. But yeah, it's interesting how, because I don't know, I've been dragged to things that I didn't like, and it put me in a sour. It's like, I'll go, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
And I think it's all about having a mindset where you got to try to make the best out of the situation. And a lot of us, we just don't.
Clearly, I don't think it's a lot of us. I think every once in a while we do it, but I don't think to the drastic extent. I've seen so many people like, front rows of comedy shows.
Yeah.
Why? Why did you come out? Just say no. Go spend that $15 anywhere else. Go see a movie.
Yeah, if you, better yet, if you don't want to come to a comedy show, but you want to pay for a ticket, just give your money to a comedian. You know?
Yes,
yeah, just find a sponsor, a local comedian, and give them your money.
100%. Oh, I got my Venmo. I'll pop it up, buddy. Like just give it to me directly.
Just like pay me and then don't come. That's fine. Buy the ticket, send somebody else.
Exactly. Someone who wants to have laughter. I also, again, I just don't understand not wanting to laugh. I just don't, I don't know, like, I don't know.
But people are like that. They just, but that happens too, where you think they're not enjoying it. And then after the show, they're like, that was the best show I've ever been to.
There are some of those. There are some of those. I had one of those recently the other night and I was like, you guys enjoyed my set? You weren't laughing.
It's like, I don't know if you know that with comedy, how that works. So I can tell you enjoy it as I'd say a joke. You think it's funny, you then laugh.
Or any kind of audible response, anything, clapping, anything, just to let me know, okay? But just sitting there nodding my head is not doing it for me, okay?
That's the relationship we're building here. Well, that was, like I said, that was a fun story. We still have time. I would love to hear your other story that you had.
Okay.
You were going to talk about.
Okay, so it's the first time I ever featured. And I was way too new. I had probably less than like 10 total showcases under my belt, including a handful of guest spots and things. So very green. But this producer I love, and I'll drop her name, Joanne McIver. She's in Longmont, runs amazing shows at 300 Suns, still does there. And she somehow still let me perform after this. So I bless her sweet soul. But she's never let me feature again, which is probably good to call at that point. So I had been trying so hard to get on the show, and finally she messaged me, I think maybe like the day before, like the day of the show. And I was like, sweet, I'm in. And I was like, hey, how much time am I doing? She goes, oh, you're featuring. You're doing 15 minutes. I was like, oh, no, crap. I'm like, I got 5 or 10. But I'm not going to tell her. I'm not going to say no.
That's how you can tell you were a rookie.
Yeah.
Because every rookie makes that mistake.
Yeah, every single one of us. And I learned very quickly, no, I should have said, because the lineup she had around me was so good. And like for me to be featuring above some of those people, I was like, oh no. Like I got there and I was like, this isn't good. So this particular show, it's in Longmont, and it's a wonderful, beautiful place. Some of the best food, by the way, in Colorado when it comes to breweries and stuff. Some amazing beer. But what they do have right next to them is train tracks, and these huge doors that are open. And the train, at some point, will come by during somebody's set.
That's so funny. There was a venue in Sioux Falls that we used to do shows at. It was one of the venues that we used to use for the comedy festival, and it was right by a train. And same thing. It never, without fail, a train would come through during a comedy show.
But let's see. I was going to say, so I try to do so my opener and my closer are pretty good. I knew that. So I was like, okay, start and leave things in the middle. But I start, I got the yips. I was getting nervous. I'm reading off my set list. Oh no. And then the train came, and it was just I'm so new. I don't know how to handle the train. What am I supposed to say? Do I just let it pass me? And it is just the most awkward gap of time, because he goes by for 2 minutes. And it was just oh crap. Oh God. I was like, please somebody get me out of here. Just and the audience, they were very nice and respectful, except for a couple of them at the bar that wouldn't shut up. But I was just I don't blame you right now. This is not going. Oh God, I can still just remember just sitting there and just looking over my notes, just still pulling out my notes and doing things because I didn't have 15 minutes. I knew, like I said, I knew I didn't have it, but I wasn't gonna say no. So if I can give any comic advice, do the time you have.
Be honest.
Be honest with the producer.
Yeah,
Like,
don't tell him you can do 30 if you can only do 15.
100%, because you can't. You just can't, and they're gonna remember.
Well, you can, just not well.
Exactly. No. And that booker's gonna remember you, and that producer's gonna talk about you, and they're gonna tell people that you did that. Like, it's such a bad idea. And like, I still to this day regret it. And I'm very glad now that 15 minutes feels like a breeze and it's just like easy. But yeah,
It's funny how, like, with comedy, where like at a certain point, you struggle to get up to like 30 minutes and then 45 and then an hour. And then, then at that point, like 15 is nothing. And now, as the more you do it, I don't know if it is like this for you, but I struggle more on trying to cut down and do like 3 minutes or 5 minutes or
100%. So, I want to ask you, because you just did your first 2 minutes at Comedy Works.
Well, and the only thing I could think to do, it went well.
Of course you did well.
It was fine. The only thing I could do, really, I was like, well, if I only can do 2 minutes, I'm just going to do a bunch of my one-liners. Because I'm mostly a storyteller.
Yeah.
And I mix in one-liners with a lot of my stories and have them, connected to whatever I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So that way, so that's what I was just like, well, I'm just not doing stories. I'm just going to do a bunch of one-liners and stuff. And so I pretty much just did a bunch of little one-liners and
See that?
And it went really well.
See, that's where I'm struggling. Okay, yeah, I'm very much more of a storyteller comic too, and I'm struggling. It sucks because most of mine are about 2 minutes each.
Yeah,
like I run everything at 2, so I can do a 2, I can do a 4, things like that are fine. I'm struggling at Comedy Works at a 3. It's like, where do I cut all my jokes? What do I want to do? It's like, where do I want to place this? And like, I know I'm a good comic. I know I can do the 4, but it's just that struggle at 3 right now for me. Yep. Like, it's
yeah, and I think that's where having, even if you're not a one-liner comic, just writing one-liners for stuff like that you can sprinkle in helps, because it helps, especially if it's a really good one-liner, you're going to get a really long applause break, and then that applause break is going to eat time.
Yeah. It does.
Because you got to wait for them to stop clapping before you move on. I got a pretty good applause. Well, yeah, pretty good laugh break or applause break after my first joke. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. Yeah. I was like, when are you guys, and I've seen comics do this on like, on Last Comic Standing, where people will be laughing and they'll be like, shut up, quit laughing. I only got 2 minutes. I'm trying to tell a joke. And that was what was like in my head. I wanted to be like, come on, guys, you got to hurry this up. I only got 2 minutes and I got more things to say.
Oh, dude, I totally screwed up on that one night. And it cost me, I know I would have moved up on this set. I broke a big rule, and I know I did, but I did crowd work in my 3 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're not supposed to do that. Do not do that. But I had it all. I did, and I had it all very well timed out, and I knew it. I knew that joke. I knew how long it would, and especially if I got it. And I got the guy to say the right freaking answer, and the audience lost their minds. So I am staring him. I'm eating it up. I am staring him down. I'm taking up the whole clock. And so I was like, okay, but now in my brain, I'm like, I know how long I have. I'm good. I have it 3:30. I'll be okay. I'm doing it. And I'm about to go hit my last punchline on my thing. And they cut my light at my mic at 3:17.
Oh, no.
I'm like, I needed 12 seconds to finish this. I had it. I'm like, no.
Oh, no.
I was like, you got, because I asked afterwards too. I was just like, hey, I thought I had 30 seconds afterwards. Like, you said you cut me at 3:17. Why did you cut me there? They're like, well, we thought you were starting a new joke. I'm like, do you think I'm that stupid to try and start a new joke with 12 seconds left in this? Like, no, I'm finishing this. I'm landing the plane. Let me go. Runway's there. Lights are up.
Wheels are down.
You told me to pull up. No. But yeah, but it was still great. I remember that. But no, yeah, it sucks. And it's just like, shut up sometimes. Like, I need to go faster. You guys, like, I need to finish this up. But
yep. But you don't want to do that. You don't want to be like, shut up, because you want them to laugh and enjoy the show.
100%. No, I heard about a comic who hosted Comedy Works and told them to shut the fuck up.
Whoa.
because that was kind of their shtick and things, and did that, and needless to say, that didn't go well.
Yeah, I'm sure not. I'm sure that wasn't a good move.
No, especially because it's new talent night, so you're hosting every few minutes.
Oh, yeah, that's really bad.
Yeah.
Well, and your job as the host is to get people pumped up and energized, not tell them to do the opposite.
100%. No,
like that makes you terrible at your job.
Well, this particular comic told him, like, I'm not great at hosting, but I didn't think they'd like tell the audience to shut the fuck up.
But here we are.
Here we are now. Yeah.
Now I got a question going back to your story about where you bombed because you didn't have enough time, and you said you didn't think you should have been featuring above the other comics on the show.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel like when you're, and especially in a scene like this where there's a lot of amazing comics, you get to do comedy with a lot of amazing comedians, do you ever find it where you get a little nervous if you have to follow a comic that's really good?
Yep.
Like just
yeah.
like you're just like, ooh, how am I going to follow this comic?
It sucks. Yeah, there was a lineup I was on recently, and I got booked last minute on the show, and I was like, okay, and I looked at it and I was like, no, like it was Steve Gillespie, Jocelyn Sharp, Michael Isaacs, Kelsey Wood, and Patrick Scott. And like all of those are great regular, and I'm just like, they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna put Kelsey and Patrick before you, and it's like, no, please don't, please don't make me follow them.
Like, let me go first.
I was like, it's like, please, I'll set the room, we'll be fine. But no, like, yeah, it's especially now, like I'm coming up and doing more of those spots around those people, and it's just like, oh, like getting used to that feeling of you need to be ready to ride the wave.
You do, absolutely.
Like,
that's something that I kind of learned when I was in California, because I did some shows where I had to follow some pretty incredible comics, and it kind of got in my head.
Yeah.
And then I talked to somebody about it, at some point, and they were just like, you just can't think about it. You just got to go. Continue what they did.
Use their momentum,
because you got to be able, use their momentum, but you also got to be able to follow anybody.
Yes,
regardless.
100%. Yeah. I've heard. I mean, one of my favorite headliners. I just want to drop his name because of what it said. There was a feature before him, and he's like, "God, is he still doing too much energy?" God, all right, fine. Like, he's followed him enough times. He knew what he was going to have to go do, but it's like, some people don't want to follow an energy comic. Some people don't want to follow, a low storyteller. It's just, you have to be ready, right? You like, I feel at this point, I can follow anybody, maybe other than Sam Talent. And that's about, I remember one night at the Fort, like Luke was going to put me up early at the mic, and I told him, I was just like, I know Sam's here. Don't put me up over Sam. Like, that's all I'm asking. Give me any other chance before or later.
Just put some buffer in there. Buffer in there. After you have a show that doesn't go well, what do you do to analyze your sets to improve? And what are things you look for to try to change?
It's okay. Where did I hear laughs? Like, if I heard laughs, where did I hear laughs? Try to just see where that laughter was good. And then, listen to the silence. Why was there silence? Were you too fast in your jokes? Were you too telling? Maybe that thing doesn't work together. Maybe this joke needs to sit on the back burner and come across. Maybe it's not for this audience. I don't know. Like, I'm always trying to look at the different ways. Maybe this joke needs to be cut into another joke. Sometimes that's where it's at. This part's funny. Now, and just maybe I should tell these two together. But then there's some nights too, you're like, maybe just the audience sucked. You're just like that happens sometimes. You really can't blame yourself for that. You throw out gold and you're just like, you did what you could.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't, I mean, I would agree with that at some point, because there are audiences that
it's rare. It's rare. It's not every time. It's rare.
Yeah, it does. It does definitely happen. I know, because there's a lot of people will be like, never blame the audience. Well, you're right. You shouldn't. And maybe it is something that you did. Maybe it's not something you did. Maybe it's something somebody else did, or something. Oh, yeah. Or some other element that happened that changed the energy of the room that caused this. So maybe, it isn't the audience, but I've seen shows where every comic went up and struggled, and they weren't bad comics. Yep. They were like good comics, and they were working really hard and getting nothing out of it. And those are shows where I'm like, well, when you see every comic struggle and that they're good comics, you know that the audience was not great.
Yeah. I just had one of those recently, and like I hosted, and the producer came after me and she goes, Ryan, you were threatening them with fun. Like you were trying to beat them up for a good time. Like you went after them so hard and did everything you could to try and like at least keep energy up and at least do anything. But to watch every one of these comics who I know, or I would book every single one of them to headline a show, and they all bomb as bad as you're just like, first off, you don't feel bad.
Yeah, right. It definitely makes you feel better about yourself.
It's a nice moment we all get to enjoy together afterwards. It's like,
we share this moment.
Oh yeah, our shared trauma experience.
Comedy in a nutshell. Shared traumatic moments.
100%.
I guess sharing really is caring. When you tell a joke that doesn't land, or you feel like you're starting to bomb or lose your crowd, what in that moment goes through your head, and how do you try to change where you're going?
So I'll be real. I have one in my hip pocket. I have there's one I know, if everything's going bad, if I tell this joke, I can bring them back around because they don't like me. So like, it's this perfect joke. I tell, because my grandfather was a World War II bombing pilot. I go, back in World War II, my grandfather flew 55 bombing missions. And no applause. No respect for my dead grandfather. And I'll go, guys, that's impressive, right? Come on, we have to agree. That's an impressive feat. 55 bombing missions. Because the only person who's ever done more bombing is me at open mics. And if they hate me, they instantly like, yeah, you suck. And I kind of can win them back on board and then start doing that joke.
Have you ever tried that? Sorry, this just the comic brain pops in. Have you ever tried that same scenario, but instead of saying bombing at open mics, saying bombing right? Nobody's did more bombing than me right now.
That's a way better idea. I'm using that.
No, by all means, take it, use it, because it's a way to acknowledge the fact that you're in the room and you're aware of what happens without blatantly saying, because I've done this, and I've seen other comics do it where you're bombing or a joke's not going well, and then I'll just be like, I'm bombing, I'm aware, I'm here, guys, I get it. You're not into this material, exactly. And I'll call out the situation, call out the elephant in the room, if you will. But that's a way, it's doing that, but in a more clever way.
Exactly. Yeah. No, and I've definitely done it too. But I'm just like, that same show, like I was doing bisexual humor. I'm like, you guys don't like me saying bisexual? Nope, I know that bisexual. You don't like that? So yeah, sometimes do it, but it doesn't. That usually doesn't work. But it's just like, but no, the hip pocket joke now, especially with your added tag.
You'll have to let me know how that goes next time. But hopefully you don't need to use it. Hopefully you don't have to use it. That's you can, but hopefully you don't have it. In the perfect world, you won't. What is your joke writing process, and how do you evaluate? What is the evolution of a joke for you? So like, how long does it take you to come up with an idea to actually put a joke in your act? And then a second part of that is, when do you decide, if you're working on a joke and you just can't get it, to either shelve it or scrap it completely? So
the joke writing process, I am very weird when it comes to that. Some jokes for me will come right away. Like, they're done, they're good, they're fresh, they're crisp. I just now got done writing this joke, and I think it's really good, but the premise of it has taken over 6 years. Like, to finally, I have the premise, now I have a good series of setup and punchlines that can go with it, it's actually finally worth it. But I also believe, like, don't give up on a joke. So yeah, you're right. Sometimes just shelve them. So usually on my shelving, it depends. I would say in my earlier career, maybe 15 open mics. If it didn't, I was ridiculous like that, then I would, be like, I need to put it on the back burner. Now, like, again, I can kind of hear it a little better. So maybe, after 2 or 3 times, it might go sit on the back burner while I go back and work on it a little bit more. But it all depends. Like I said, I'm very weird. There's my opener, I came up in the shower in 2 minutes, and it was just like, my wife said something real quick, and I was like, that's it. I didn't even mean to. It was I slipped, and everything worked. And then, like I said, I
find that so frustrating when you'll spend a lot of time working on a joke, like an intricate story, and like you're thinking about all the things, and you think it's just the most brilliant thing you've ever come up with. You do it on stage, and it'll do okay, but not get what you think it does. And then you just have some stupid random thought, and then you say it out loud, and it just crushes.
Yes.
I hate when that happens. I mean, it's happened to me too. Some of my best jokes, that's how they came about, but it still frustrates me.
It is. Well, like you said, being more of a storyteller, like, and it's that, there's a certain beaten path you kind of have to find when you're telling a story and things, and that takes a little longer and things. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I wish I had a better, clear answer to that. I'm very weird because when I started, I wrote every joke out, word for word and cut things out. And now it's maybe I write down and, jot 1 or 2 words down and then go from there.
Yeah. Do you have a dedicated amount of time you spend dedicated to like writing?
No. I should. I know that's a good.
No,
I know
I'm
everybody's
not
different.
judging or saying you should. I don't.
Okay. Because I've heard like some people.
I'm just asking a question.
No, you're good. Okay. I was like, damn it, I'm sorry, didn't mean to disappoint you. But
just trying to have a conversation here, buddy. Don't be so defensive.
Because I'm very weird. Like, I don't every day, but if something comes to me and something sits there, I always have a joke book with me. Like, even at work, in my back pocket, if something I hear works and triggers me, that's when I'm going to start writing it. No, I don't get up every morning, start writing, at 5 a.m. or something, or what everybody does.
I wish I had that dedication.
Right,
I probably would be a lot further on in comedy.
100%.
If I was more dedicated. I see people, a lot of comics, so it's easy to get jealous and envy of other comics, and you'll see people and they'll get something and it's easy to think, oh, I should have got that. I could have get that. Why did they get that? And every time I start to think that, I immediately go to, I know why they got it. They work harder than I do. I see their hustle, and I'm not doing what they're doing. So sit back down, Dan, and shut the fuck up. Until you're ready to do the work that they're doing, just shut up.
And I'm a big believer on that. Like, someone else's success doesn't mean I'm not successful.
No, absolutely not.
Like, I'm just like, so when I get other comics and they do that, congratulations, good for you. I'm on my own journey.
Yep. We all are. That's what's great about comedy. We all have our own paths and our own roads to success.
Yes.
Like, there are things that you can do that'll help propel that.
Yeah.
And also hinder it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, there's no right or wrong way to do comedy.
No.
And to get to wherever wherever your goals are. Yeah, and there's enough room for everybody. That's another thing. You see there's so much competitiveness in comedy, and there should be a little bit of competitiveness, but it should be on a more of a friendly level where it's like, oh man, my friend is so good, I need to get to their level, not because I need to be better than them, but if I need, I need to be on their level. I want to be like them. I want to be great like them, but not, I want to be better because suck it,
Well, that's why I love like the scene, like Fort Collins, Loveland, Boulder and things. Supportiveness, like it's cool. Congratulations, you're doing well. Let's all help each other get better. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, absolutely. And what you said too about if somebody else has success, it doesn't mean you're not going to have success. And that's the thing a lot of comics I don't think about is there's enough room for everybody. Like somebody can be successful and so can you. Yeah. You can get up there.
100%. Yes. And who cares how quick or how long it takes? I have a friend who is headlining shows 2 years in. 6 years in, I'm very happy that I'm comfortably featuring everywhere.
Yeah.
Cool. You know what I mean? Like I again, same thing. I know I don't have a full headlining set just quite yet. So I'm very patient and happy.
Well, yeah, it's because you learned from your first set that you shouldn't do that till you're ready.
Exactly. Learn from your experience.
Learn and grow. That's called growth.
Okay, now it's my therapy session. Okay.
Well, this is a good lead in. Do you have speaking of success and your own path, what are your what kind of goals do you set for yourself? Do you have long-term or short-term goals?
I'm more trying to set short-term, more successful goals, like things I can obtain, sooner rather than later. But every few months that changes.
Oh, for sure.
This year I'm very, very proud of myself. At one point I was running 4 different shows. I was on 2 comedy festivals. I got to feature for some of my favorite people, and like, that's the year I had, you know what I mean? Like I got to be some festivals. I got to be some things next year. And I'm going to start to be like, okay, a couple more festivals. I'd like to headline sometime next year. That's where I would like to be every year. And it's just knocking those little goals out. I don't set big, huge, long
I think
terms.
that's important when it comes to goal setting. So many people, and not just comics, but people in general, they'll set these goals that are more like pipe dreams, which is good. You need to dream that. You need to have like pipe dreams. But there's a difference between having a dream and having obtainable goals. Like you can have a dream of being a big time success, but if you're not setting little goals that you can accomplish, you're going to give up on that dream because you're going to feel like you can't get there.
100%.
You need to be able to set those little goals so you can achieve those goals. Because if you don't feel like you're achieving those goals, you're not going to feel like you're getting anywhere.
100%. And that's I've been lucky. That's how I've done it every year. And every year has been a little more growth, a little more things. And I don't want to rush this process. I love this. Like it's I remember.
Well, that's good because they say it's comedy's a long process. They always are like, at least 10 years before you find a voice or find any success. I'm still waiting. Just hit 12, so.
No, first, you are incredibly successful.
Well, again, it's all on your, own success. And that's another thing. It's easy for comics. It's like you see one comic doing things, you're like, oh, I'm not where they're at. And then you forget that there's a comic behind you looking at you going, I'm not where they're at.
Oh,
and it's just the cycle just continues.
It is. It's this beautiful cycle. They told you the younger comic, he was in, I gave him a ride because he's very young, very adorable. And he's like, one day I'd like to be on 3 shows a week. And I was just like, hey, buddy, you just did a show. Congratulations. Let's be glad. Just remind yourself. Yep. There's a bunch of comics that didn't get to be on a show tonight. You did get to be on a show tonight.
Absolutely.
So every night, take your victories when you get them, man. So, but like you said, use the little ones, progress more. And
absolutely. And when you set your goals, like when you decide that, this is what I want to do this year, what kind of steps do you take to reach your goals?
Let's see.
What's your plan of action?
Well, clearly it means I need to get a new festival tape. That's the first one.
But no, it
is. That is having a good festival tape this year would be nice to do. That's kind of, one of my good goals, because I got a good bio and I got good things going for that. For headlining, it's just, writing more, see what's working, working out my jokes together. And being ready for that, doing as many feature sets as I can to be ready for that moment when I get to do 30 and things. Mm-hmm. Because that's going to, I've watched a lot of people. I watched somebody recently who shouldn't have been doing 30, did 30, and they're reading. And I don't want to be that person. I want to be slow. I want my 15 to feel like my 30. And I want to take my time to get there this year.
You said they were reading?
Yeah, they kept looking at their
okay.
notes.
That's okay. That's what I wanted to make
sure.
No,
so they were looking at their notes, hard. And I was just like, oh no.
Yeah. That's one thing. I get it, like at an open mic using some notes because you're working out ideas and stuff. Yeah. But even when I see big headliners do it, I feel like it's a disrespect to the audience.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it if, there's some people that just don't have a good memory and they need notes, and I get it. But if you're just always looking at your notes and staring at your notes and just...
Well, there's also...
Unless you're a big headliner and you're working out. Because a lot of headliners don't go to open mics. They're just like, I'm going to do these shows or I'm working this out. So, and they make the audience aware that, hey, this is basically my open mic. It is my show. I'm going to entertain you, but I'm going to be using my notes because I'm working out stuff.
100%.
You know what I mean? And they're very, they make it aware. In that case, it's like, okay... Yeah. That's a pass.
Yeah. I was like, I'll go up and again, a set list, but again, at least if you're going to do it, be clever. Have it next to your beer. Go grab a sip of your beer. Or like I do, I'll write it so damn big that I can see it from a mile away any place on the stage and just go, okay, that's where I need to be. But I agree. Like if you're headlining things, you shouldn't be unless you, like you said,
I think even if you're not just in general, like if you're on a show, you shouldn't be using notes at all. Especially if you're only doing 5 to 10 minutes.
Oh, no, that's ridiculous.
Like you're only doing 5 minutes. You can't do 5 minutes without notes. You probably shouldn't be on a show.
100%.
And people will probably come at me for sounding so.
Hey, as somebody who's definitely been at 5 minutes with notes on stage, you're right. I probably shouldn't have been on that show.
You shouldn't. If you can't do that for one show, that's just that's me being the bitter old comic. My way of comedy. Get off my stage, whippersnappers.
All right, every young comic, remember that was Dan that said that. It was I said you were fine. It's okay. You can come work with me.
Oh, man. A minute ago, you were agreeing with me. I did the impression, and you threw me under the bus. Damn. That was a quick side change right there. Well, this has been great. We got to start wrapping up.
Yeah.
What's been one of your favorite or one of the best gigs that you've done so far in your career?
And I'm very lucky. The last 2 weeks have just been insane for me. I featured for Nancy Norton on Whim, and and anyone who's ever seen Nancy, she does amazing stuff. And for people to come up after the show, and a lot of people to come up after the show and tell me how well I did, just made me feel fantastic. But honestly, I started an HOA show in Broomfield. I had a local HO. Yeah.
Okay. I had to process.
So
that
this lady on a Facebook oh God.
I just had to, because that's what I thought you said was HOA, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
I had to process for a minute.
So this person posted on Facebook. They're like, hey, we do local stuff and for our community and things. And they asked, would you want to do it? And I said, I'm a producer and do things. And it took months and finding things. And finally we got to the show, and holy crap, was it fire. Just these, I've been at Comedy Works and it hasn't been that loud before.
Wow.
And I, in the middle of my set, I go, why the hell am I not recording this right now? I was so mad because especially from a host spot, I was killing it from the host spot. I was like, what is, and the whole night was just insane. Everybody crushed I had comments go, that was the best night of comedy I've had all year.
Wow.
Yeah, I was just like, thanks. But it was for all that hard work, for fighting the HOA. It was some of the best crowd work I've done. It was so much fun. And then it only took me 2 miles to get home. I loved it.
That's the best part about it, when you can just drive right home, sleep in your own bed.
Oh, it was so great.
That's the chef's kiss of comedy. Sleeping in your own bed.
You have and getting home by 11. You guys don't get it.
Yeah. Right? That's amazing. Last question.
Yes.
We have the Art of Bombing Get Pumped playlist. Doesn't have to be a song that gets you pumped for comedy specifically, but what's a song that gets you pumped to go do stuff that you would add to that playlist?
Oh, okay. I got it. I'm trying to remember the name of the band, but it's Hail to the King.
Hail to the King.
I think it's Avenged Sevenfold. Yeah, that's my pump up jam.
Right, Hail to the King.
Yeah, it's so, it's either that or, okay, and I'm gonna be really, but I see some of the stuff in studio, so I feel as I can say this. Shawn Michaels' "Sexy Boy." Sometimes that's my other pump up song.
That's amazing. Oh, I think that's the song that has to go on the.
Oh, please play it. Yeah,
that's.
And it's got to be the version where Shawn Michaels is singing it. The way worse version.
Yep.
There has been one too many times outside of a show that I am singing that beforehand and pumping myself up. It's not good when you're doing the leg stretch and everyone's like, "What the hell is he doing?"
Getting pumped.
Sexy boy.
I'm ready for some sweet chin music. Gotta get them legs ready. Especially if somebody's sitting in the front of the audience with their arms crossed with a grumpy face. Whack! Done. All right. Well, this has been fantastic. I already said the last question, but before we go, where can people find you?
You can find me on Facebook at Ryan Bonnell Comedy. Any other social media, you can find me at YamKicker72.
Yam Kicker.
Quick, I was on a podcast, left the podcast. They said they own my rights to my name at that point, which was Potato Punches 71. So I said, okay, I'm Yam Kicker 72 now. Vengeful, spiteful bitch. So
I love it. All right, this has been great. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Dan. I appreciate it.
It's the art of bombing.
Man, Ryan Bonnell is a fantastic comic. That was a fantastic conversation.
It was. Yeah. I really liked the back and forth in that. He had a lot of good. He seems like a really experienced guy with a lot of experiences.
Absolutely.
I was trying to find a different word for that, but you can't call it anything else than experiences when it comes to this guy. Getting arrested after the show.
Fun little fact about that story that he told. The comic that he got arrested with was on. It will be on a future episode as well. It's already been recorded, and he shared his side of that adventure as well. So this is almost a part one to that whole adventure, because there's going to be a part two with another comic that was involved.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah, stay tuned, guys.
Yeah, that'll be fun. But there were some great takeaways, because we talked about, being able to have longer and shorter jokes, and being real with your time, which is very important, because so many comedians, and I kind of go, I don't know how you feel about this, Josh, but I personally kind of go, I kind of lean on both sides of the fence here, where I'm like, don't do it. Don't take a gig if you're not ready. But then I'm also kind of like, but yeah, take the gig if you're not ready, because that's how you're going to get ready. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to get that experience under your belt,
Well, it's one of those, we're in an art form that is, you can break the rules once you know them, but you got to know the rules. And yeah, you're right. One of the rules is don't do more time than you have. You can end up in a bad situation. And Ryan did. That was one of his stories about a bad show. And that has been a consistent, very frequently brought up thing on this show, where anybody talks about their last show. Well, I did something before I was really ready to do it.
Yep, that's one of the most frequent lead-ins to why somebody bombed on this show.
Well, somebody asked me to do an hour, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I've only got 12 minutes." And there's just, and it's some version of that. Exactly. But I'll do it. And I've always said, I think you're the biggest danger to yourself early on, because you think that you have more time than you really do. And I learned a bad lesson from that. I had a lot of people come and see me, friends of mine. I kind of brought everybody together 6 months into comedy. And I got up there and, just I hosted the show, but I did 10 or 12 minutes and I really had 60 seconds. And a lot of those people think I'm really bad at comedy still, and it's kind of, that's just, that's not as big of a cost as some comedians as I've brought on the show, but still, I really think you have to weigh what the opportunity is.
Yep, absolutely.
If you have 25 minutes and, a club calls you and they want you to do 30, all right.
Yeah, you can probably manage to squeeze an extra 5 minutes out of there. Yeah, I think that's a good point that you make. It's really about being, you got to be real with yourself, but also you got to, take some chances. But I think it's a matter of the comparison of time. Like what's the difference between what you have and what they're asking? If you only got 10 minutes and they're asking you to do 45 to an hour,
exactly,
probably not a good idea. But if you have 10 minutes and they're saying, hey, can you do 15 to 20, you can probably squeak that in. Just like you said, 25, they want you to do 30, you can probably squeak that in.
That's right. And consider the relationship that you're trying to build or break, right? If it's not going to be a place that you're ever going to come back to, if it's not a situation you're going to find yourself in again, and you want to take the risk and you're not going to hurt yourself long term, okay. But there could be some situations where you're pissing in your own pool, just to, use a phrase everybody's familiar with. Is, like if I'm going to my own hometown club or somewhere where I want to work, I better be darn sure I'm ready.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's so important, because it's easy to do a show when you're not ready and then ruin your chance, because it's harder. I feel like if you take an opportunity that you're not ready for and you totally screw it up, it's going to take you longer to get back to that where you do deserve it, because people are always going to associate that
first
impression. Yep. And you're going to have to work that much harder to get past that, so then you can start getting those bookings and stuff. But yeah, it's all about that. And I think too, another thing with that is people will, they'll get a gig, they'll say they can do a gig, and then they'll try to rely on crowd work. Again, don't do that. Be real with yourself. Unless you're some crazy good improviser and you're really good at that, what's going to end up happening, you're going to try to rely on crowd work to fill that extra 10, 15 minutes, and it's going to just make the show atrocious. So if you got to rely on crowd work to try to get to a certain amount of time, that's a good way to kind of measure where you're at too. If you think you got 15 minutes of material, but you think you can do a half hour because you can add crowd work in there, that just tells you you're not ready to do a half hour. Because so you got to really watch that. Because I've seen that so many times, and it's not great.
Yep. Yeah. No, I'm with you.
Yeah. All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, this conversation with Ryan, and the takeaways that we just talked about. I guess to sum it up, don't do shows before you're ready. Try to be self-aware with yourself. And when you're, objectively look at the gigs versus your time. So when you're, asked to do a gig, if they ask you to do 20 minutes, but you only have 5, probably aren't ready for it, But if they want you to do 20 and you have 15, you're probably safe to go for that gig. So just be real with yourselves. And that way you don't put yourself into on an island all by yourself.
Well said, my friend.
All right, that's all we have for this week. Next week, we are going to be joined by another Denver comedian, Christina Kleeman. We had a great conversation over the Christmas break as well. So that's what's going to be coming up next week. And thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week. Thank you for listening to the Art of Bombing podcast, hosted and produced by Dan Bublitz Jr. and Josh Shirley for Blitzed Entertainment. Nobody Had a Podcast called The Art of Bombing was written and performed by John Holt. The stand-up soundbite bumper was provided by Joe Nicola Music. Be sure to follow and subscribe to The Art of Bombing wherever you get podcasts. You can connect with us on the web at artofbombingpod.com or on all social media platforms at Art of Bombing Pod.